be up to here sometimes. And I'll just be honest with you, last Monday, my supervisor says, hey, guess what, you're getting a whole new county. Well, a whole new county, I'm getting a worker from that county, which is great because she knows her cases, but guess what? I don't know anything about any of these cases. And I got a week to learn all this information. So there's a lot of reading involved in that, which I got to find time to do that. I got to find time to do the stuff that's going on in my own unit that I already have. So this morning I was like, hey, I just need to bounce some stuff off of you because I felt like I needed to throw up, to be quite honest with you, thinking about all this stuff that I had to learn. So, but every job you have, you'll find out the person above you, your supervisor, that's going to make or break a lot of jobs. Because if you're somewhere and you're miserable, and it's because your supervisor is not very good, and I'll be honest with you guys, no matter what you do, you're going to find some places where your supervisor you can't stand. That was part of the reason I left probation, because I had a supervisor that came in that micromanaged. I knew how to do probation. I've been doing it for 14 years. I didn't need somebody to tell me how to do it. So that's kind of one of the things that led to, I started praying about what God wanted me to do, and it kind of led me to probation, to CPS. And I'll be honest with you, my husband thought I had lost my mind because we had been involved with CPS. To be honest, I had two foster kids that we adopted, and now they're 16 and 17 years old, and they were 3 and 4 when we adopted them. And they were in our home 3 years before we adopted them. So my youngest one was 8 days old when he came to us. So we had an experience with CPS, and all that wasn't positive. And I'll be honest with you, if you guys have experiences with CPS for whatever reason, because anybody can get called a case in. Anybody can get mad at you and call something in on you. I'll be honest with you, sometimes you're not going to have a good experience because some people are not professional. So whatever you guys decide to do, you need to always be professional. You need to realize that, hey, I am not any better than that person right there. God made every one of us, and He loves every one of us the same. And I'm not better than that person. I may have a better circumstance in my life right now, but I'm not better than them. And that's something, you treat people the way you want to be treated. I mean, everybody in this room has probably been treated bad by somebody at some point in your life. I mean, let's be honest, I have. It doesn't feel good, does it? So you ought to remember, whatever profession you choose, you need to be compassionate to people. You need to show your love to them. It may be a total stranger. I mean, it's not hard to love other people if you just let yourself. Even though you've been through bad circumstances, maybe. So, I mean, my own children went through bad circumstances. But that their circumstances they went through, the child didn't decide who they're going to be in the future. And neither did you. We have choices every day we have to make. Make good choices or bad choices. I mean, just like looking at a career, there's so many different careers out there that you got. And I don't know how many other people are going to come speak. You guys are seniors, and you don't have to make that decision now. I mean, be honest with you. Most people that start college start out with one major and may go through 3 or 4 majors, to be honest with you, by the time they choose their major. Some people know, I mean, but it's not, Angel can probably tell you that it's not very likely that most people know what their major is going to be because something changes and your career path changes. Some circumstances in your life may change, and it may lead you to a different direction.
And that's okay. We've talked about that. What I've told them is it's not a divorce. You don't have to divorce your college or divorce your career path. You can change it. Go try it. Just keep making positive steps forward.
But I will say, I hope that each one of you do pursue college, and you may think right now, man, how am I going to go to college? I mean, my grades aren't that good. I don't have to pay for it. Well, I'm going to tell you, I'll tell you a story. I know a guy that he barely graduated high school by about that much. He has his doctorate now. He can barely pass high school, but then he has a doctorate. And it's just a drive. I have no idea how you pay for it, but
sticking with it.
It's just something you have. I mean, because college is basically a test of perseverance, guys. It's not how much you know. It's how much work am I going to put into it. And it's different from high school because you get to choose what you want to take. Here, did you guys have a choice of taking this class? No, you didn't. And there's a few classes when you first start out in college that you have to take, but after that you kind of get to choose what you like. So it is a lot better. If you get through the first year of college, you can get through the rest of college. I promise you. The first year is going to be your hardest, just because it's an adjustment. Probably like first year of high school, probably your hardest, right? question?
Think about probation or CPS. What questions do y'all have?
Hey, they both have great retirement, and they both have great insurance, I'll tell you, and that's important in a job today. It may not pay you the most, but I'm gonna tell you what, teachers can tell you, their insurance is not very good.
Very
My insurance
expensive.
is so much, but I don't pay a dime for my insurance. Now, my children are not on my insurance, but if they were, I'd have to pay, but I think it's like $300 a month, which is probably not anywhere close to what a teacher's family pays. Probation is the same way. We both are state employees. Both of them are state employees. They work for different entities of the state. So some of the rules are a little bit different as far as retirement and insurance. But as of right now, as I stand here today, if I retired tomorrow, my insurance would be paid until I was 65 years old, and half of my husband's insurance would be paid for. So I mean, it's just a little things to think about. Because I know a lot of times we get out of high school and think, man, I want to make this much money. I want to tell you, sometimes that's just not where you're going to go. You're not going to have a job that makes $100,000 a year. But if you got a job that makes $60,000 a year and you're getting your insurance paid for and you're getting retirement, it's not a bad deal. You know, that's just some of the perks, and you get a lot of time off when you have time to take it.
Tell us about our I know a little bit about it from being a teacher, about our personal responsibilities for reporting.
Yes.
Tell them.
So like, all teachers have a mandatory responsibility. If you guys come and tell her something, tell your teacher, whether it be Angel or your teacher, they have to report. The state law says we have to. I'm a mandatory reporter. Some of these professions up here, they're mandatory reporters. You guys' responsibility is, if you know some abuse and neglect is going on, even if you have a question about what they're gonna do, you need to call in. There's a hotline, and I'll give it to you before I leave, because I never remember it, because I like I said, I don't call the hotline very often myself. But if you guys thought one of your classmates were being abused, or you or your siblings or cousins or whatever it may be, you don't have to. Nobody knows who calls in. If Angel calls in, we don't know it's Angel that calls in. If I call in, my name's not on that report that I called in.
So it's anonymous to
You
report.
may think you know who called in, but I don't even know who called in. So, you know, they ask you for your name, and it doesn't go out on the information that we get. And that's why a lot of people are afraid to call, because they're afraid so-and-so is going to retaliate against me. And they may think it's you, but they don't know it's you. And not unless you tell them it's you. They called in. But it's always better to let someone go out and investigate and let them make that decision to whether someone is being abused or neglected. And it may be something that you think is worse than what it is, but there may be some resources to help that family. Doesn't mean your kids are going to get, doesn't mean every kid that we investigate gets removed. We have also a program called Family-Based Safety Services. They pretty much offer the same services I do. However, the kids still are in the home. And we also have a program called Alternative Response. And that program is the same general thing. Their services they offer the parents. The only difference between Alternative Response and Family-Based Safety Services is the length of the period that the department stays involved. It's shorter on Alternative Response. But they still offer a lot of the same services. And they offer all the same services we do. So really we try to do those steps before it ever gets to me. Sometimes we can't help it. I mean, sometimes it's just there's safety of the child. And we're not looking at risk. Used to the department looked at risk a lot. But when you're dealing with somebody who uses drugs, there's always going to be a risk that they can relapse. So we're looking at immediate safety. If there is an immediate safety issue that you guys know what's going on with the child, that's really when the department's going to step in and get more involved. And like I said, they may offer some services, even if it's just risk-based, but they probably will just give them referrals. Because there's all kinds of referrals that are within the communities that don't cost anything.
I know sometimes, like on the neglect, there was a question of like what we thought was neglectful and what is actually neglect. Can you define that a little for us?
Basically, the department looks at neglectful supervision is if a parent in a home basically is using drugs, one, and the children test positive. Anytime a child tests positive, we classify that as neglectful supervision. And basically, that doesn't mean that you use drugs, but it could mean that you come in contact within the home with drugs through surface contact. Like if you have a cut or something and you come across certain drugs like methamphetamines and cocaine and stuff, it can get in your system. Also, sweat to sweat contact. Like especially younger children that their parents use methamphetamine, if sweat, they can get it through their pores. Methamphetamines is really transferable, easy. If you go to a home that doesn't have food, obviously. If a parent is using drugs and don't know where their kids are, we have that too. Kids are 2 and 3 years old and they're wandering around the neighborhood. And their parents don't know where they're at. Just because someone is using drugs doesn't mean we have a neglectful supervision. It's basically, are they providing you with shelter, food, water, and are you safe while that parent is present? And I know sometimes it's hard to distinguish. That's why I'm glad I don't have to do that, make that decision. Like I said, when I get the case, that decision's already been made. And even sometimes I don't agree. Sometimes I think that we could have done different things versus removing the kids and putting them in foster care. And when I see a situation like that, the first thing I start doing is seeing how quick I can get those kids home and get those parents those services to be able to do that. Because it happens. Sometimes, we see things differently where we think a child should be removed early on in a stage and then we learn more about the situation and maybe that child shouldn't have. So our job is to make sure we get return the children as soon as possible. I have a case that's on the docket Thursday that we've only been involved, I want to say roughly December. And while I can't recommend the children go home because there's certain times we have policies that say we have assessments that we do. And depending on what that assessment says, whether we can recommend the kids go home. In this instance, I'll just give you a little bit of this instance. The children came to care because they tested positive for methamphetamine, and so did mom. Mom has been going to treatment since before I ever even got involved, before we ever went to court. She had been a recovering addict for 14 years and relapsed. So she had a lot of tools that we were able to work with. We do hair follicle tests, which, hair follicle tests, drugs stay in your system a lot longer. But just because the drug's in your hair does not mean that we have a safety issue, right? Because we just talked about immediate safety. If you take a UA, methamphetamine stays in your urine about 2 days. So if your urine's clean and you keep having negative drug tests, there's probably not an immediate safety issue, even though it's still in the hair because it just takes so long to get out of the hair. So I can't recommend that those children go home because it's still positive in the hair. However, we have, every child has an attorney. Every child has an attorney. That attorney, it's called an ad litem. They also have what's called, most cases have what's called a guardian ad litem. Has anybody here heard of CASA? It's a child advocacy court appointed guardian is what it is. So they're actually appointed by the court to represent what's in the child's best interest. The ad litem, their attorney, is supposed to represent what the child wants. Of course, sometimes we have children that can't really tell the court what they want or tell the attorney what they want, so they kind of have to look at best interest too. But both of those parties on this particular case feel like the children should go home. So they're going to go to court, and we're going to go. The judge is going to ask everybody what's going on in the case, and my caseworker is going to stand up and tell her, "Mom's completed this, and this, Your Honor." However, her hair test is still negative, and then the CASA worker is going to speak, and she's going to say, "Your Honor, yes, the hair is positive. The hair is still positive. However, we feel like it's in the children's best interest to be placed back in the home." And the ad litem is going to say the same thing. How many of y'all think the judge is going to go with my recommendation? No, she's going to go with their recommendation. Because she knows that we're going to recommend that because of policy. Because we can't recommend that. And she's going to know they're recommending what they feel like is in the children's best interest. So they're saying the children's safe. And we're not standing up here saying, "Hey, Your Honor, yeah." We're not jumping up and down saying we oppose it. We're just saying we can't recommend it, which is a difference. In most judges, once you go to the same judge over and over and over, I'll tell you, I had a judge that recently retired. I said, "I'm going to miss you because I didn't even have to, all I had to do is have this look on my face," and she knew what I was thinking because I'd been in her court so many times. So she knew, even when I get up there and testify, the last time I testified for her, she said, "I think I understand." Because I couldn't recommend something even though I felt like it was in the child's best interest because of our policy. She understood by because I'd been in front of her so many times, that I couldn't recommend it, but I still think it's in the kid's best interest. So it's very interesting. Sometimes, court is open. I don't know when they have court down here, but it's kind of used to it was closed. CPS court was closed. Now of course, Gregg County may still be closed. I'll have to check on that.